What's up? What's up? What's up? A.O. Thropos here with another exciting episode of You Don't Know. You don't know, huh? So don't act like you do. Alright. We've got a very special episode of You Don't Know tonight. We've got Christopher S. Jacobs. We did an interview with him 2 days ago. Lasted over 2.5 hours. Christopher Jacobs came to my attention through watching the program Understanding Sasquatch on YouTube. Understanding Sasquatch is run by a young gentleman named Keegan Reed. Brilliant man, beautiful man, very convicted in his morals and his quest for the truth. He is a warrior on a quest for the truth. Now, Christopher S. Jacobs for a time was somewhat co-hosting this show, and that's why I came to find out about him. Christopher S. Jacobs is a healer, experiencer, an author, and a counselor of sorts. He helps people deal with energies, bad, good, in between, and also spirit entities, and also UFOs, aliens, ET abductions. You get the picture. Etheric implants, all the nasty stuff. Some really dark topics here, and but none of this stuff is woo-woo, huh? We don't have any woo-woo stuff on You Don't Know. It's straight science, huh? And this might not be the kind of science that's taught to you at your local university, but they just got a bunch of damn lies anyway, huh? That's it. They got a bunch of lies. So you have to come to men such as myself to learn the truth. Ain't that a bitch, huh? Oh well, that's how it goes, huh? C'est la vie. So anyway, Christopher S. Jacobs is someone who's, much like Rudolf Steiner, is able to perceive into supersensible worlds. Meaning he can see shit that you and me can't see, huh? That's it. And he's been able to do this since he was a kid. I'm not endorsing everything that Christopher S. Jacobs says, but I can tell you he's been vetted. He's been vetted by Keegan Reed. He's been vetted by me personally. And I do believe that he is sincere in his convictions. He's consistent in everything that he says, and my energy working lady in Colorado, Kira, some of her diagnoses, shall I say, and some of his diagnoses were right on, exactly spot on, the same. You know, that's a little bit too much of a coincidence. And so he's been vetted on a number of different levels. This interview we did was 2.5 hours long. And so it's been broken up into sections. And what you're watching right now is the introduction of this series of the Christopher S. Jacobs tapes, right? And so it'll be me and Christopher talking about some things, and we're also going to have a mystery guest whose identity will not be revealed, and they may speak from time to time. They didn't. Hey, we're part of the interview, and this is someone who's very dear to me and who has helped quite a bit with my video production, producing my videos. Let me just put it like that. A lot. And I thank this person from the bottom of my heart. So anyway, sit back, grab a beer, strap in, you're in for a bumpy ride, that's it! Because remember, if there's one cosmic truth, the truth is you don't know! So don't act like you do, huh? That's it, don't act like you do!
I've definitely been choked in my sleep before by an entity, you know. I've definitely been choked in my sleep before by an entity, you know. I've definitely been choked in my sleep before by an entity, you know.
Christopher, where do I have the pleasure of speaking to you from today?
Prescott, Arizona, actually.
Kick ass. I hadn't spent very much time in Arizona.
Yeah, we it's actually in the 60s here today. In the past couple of days, some friends have called us. Like yesterday, a couple of friends called and said it was. They were in Lincoln, Nebraska, and it was 0 degrees. And I said it's almost 70 here. They're like, shut up.
Yeah, I know. Here in Austin, it was, I think, in the 80s last week at some point.
No, that's good.
Well, Christopher, I know that eating food is highly unprofessional on this. And let me tell you, I'm going to edit that out. You're not going to see me taking a bite of any food on this deal. Anyway, let me tell you, I have been acquainted with your material mostly by the appearances that you've done on Keegan Reed's show.
Hmm. Yeah, understanding Sasquatch. Yeah, yeah. I worked with him on that for a long time, and then Joanna and I came up with the lifting, and that's what we work on now. Every couple weeks or so, we have a show called the lifting that I post on our YouTube.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, who is Joanna to you?
Girlfriend.
Okay, cool. Now, Christopher, for the members of my audience, and let me tell you, it's not a hostile audience. In other words, we're not here to do a hatchet job, and my audience knows that I'm, as far as like what most people would say is, kind of far out or whatever.
Hmm.
I do believe in the physical existence, reality of Bigfoot. I am quickly becoming, if not already, an expert on the glowing orb phenomenon,
Hmm.
which I've been doing investigations. I've done 4 investigations over there in East Texas. And Ghostlight Road is in Saratoga, Texas.
Hmm.
And when we have time after we hear about some of your qualifications and experiences, I would maybe like to ask you, your take on the ghost lights.
Okay, that'd be great. Yeah, I've experienced that myself. It's usually associated with either Sasquatch or like Fae and elemental type energies. I see those two coupled all the time together.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know that, but I'm glad that you were able to confirm that for me. Now, just for the audience's knowledge and everything, is it that you have direct perception into super sensible worlds?
Yes, actually, I do. Most people, that are psychic actually just sense things that are around. I actually see things that walk in the room with my eyes. I can actually see, like, if there's a Sasquatch being around that's transparent, they come in as transparent in the room to me. I'll see them at their full height, and if they're close to your dimensional level, because sometimes they do duck. They will duck under a ceiling. So some things will pass through. I've seen both good and bad beings that way. And I've also peered into different dimensions. I do bilocation when I do healings on people. I'll clear their auric fields, and I'll take attachments and demon possessions off of them and such too. It's within their energy core. Everyone has an energy core that's a mix of etheric and genetic, and it's woven into the human code or the human existence. Our energy is woven into that, and it's supposed to be bright and glowing. And if it isn't, I see an entity that's a shadow. It's like if you put your hand in front of a light bulb and you're casting a shadow somewhere. That's how I see some of the different entities attached to people within their auric field or within their core. And then I just pick those off of them. And I've noticed even one negative entity disappearing, their timeline or their life takes off on a completely different skew than they thought it would. These entities would like to divert or stagnate people into a completely different timeline than they're supposed to be in, or a completely different set of experiences. You remove that, and it completely improves their condition.
By having these entities and attachments removed?
Yes, yes. So I've noticed immediate results removing a demon, even from within a household, not necessarily just on the person. They could just be close by. And by removing that variable, a whole new set of variables open up to the person that they didn't even see before, because that entity was blocking all of their potential.
Hello?
That's fascinating. Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Does it look so much better now?
No, but he needs to remove mine.
I need to start what?
He needs to remove mine. Can he do it via the phone? Or
what other phone?
The entity that your other...
Oh, Christopher, we might have a customer for you right here. And she will remain anonymous, but she's a very successful lady and who's had a little bit of problems recently. And maybe after the show, if you have a few minutes to talk to me, I'll talk to you about it.
Okay, that'd be great.
Awesome. I went through some unusual experiences earlier, not this year, I guess it was last year because it was in 2017. And I was doing some extreme weight training and having a new relationship was very dynamic, and also going through some weight training at the same time. And I was augmenting myself with medical stuff through a doctor, to achieve my weight lifting,
objectives and goals. And I come back from a very serious workout. They really, these are almost like torture sessions. And I fell right asleep, and I went to sleep, and then I woke up crying uncontrollably, which is, very unusual for me, because supposedly, in some people's ideas, back in the day, I used to be kind of a tough guy or whatever like that. So, very unusual. And now there's a lady I call her my psychic, my energy moving lady, and she is a lady who's a psychic, and I've known her for 31 years, and she's from the same town that I'm from, Lubbock, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And so she started asking me a few questions, and then she started actually physically moving energy in my body. And although my mind is open to these things, and I wanted to believe and have believed in these things for years, when somebody actually does it to you for the first time, it's quite startling. Quite startling. And I mean, I was just like beside myself, and she's like, okay, now I'm doing this. Do you feel this? And I'm like, what? I mean, what? She's 1,000 miles away. So we have had a number of Skype interviews sessions since then, but on that first one, which was just on the phone, she advised me that in her opinion, I was having a full-blown Kundalini awakening.
And unbeknownst or, unexpected by me, 1 month ago I started going through something really weird, and I was doing my intense workouts, and I woke up after one of these workouts crying uncontrollably. And I reached out to one of my sisters who had been working with me from Colorado, who I'd since found out that she is a certified life coach. But that doesn't even describe what she is, because she's an energy mover. Yeah. And so for the first time in my life, I'm not going to say how old I am, but after living, a lifetime in objective reality, this, lovely woman who I've known for 31 years and who I went to the same school in Lubbock, Texas. Mm-hmm. You're from Houston, right?
Yeah, outside of Houston.
So, kind of very similar accent. Yep. But anyway, she right off the bat was like moving energy in my body.
Yeah. That's magical.
I mean, it is. I mean, and so what she told me right off the bat, and she has guides, and she was talking to them this still, and she's a very powerful person. And she informed me that I'm basically having a Kundalini awakening right now, and that she has not had one. And so it was like a little bit intimidating, scary, right?
Which was bizarre, because I was not in the market for a Kundalini awakening, and I, as far as a Westerner's view, maybe had some brief knowledge of it, but in no way, was searching for this or anything. And now we see that Stuart Swerdlow speaks about sometimes intentionally or unintentionally, people are put through a premature Kundalini awakening, which isn't necessarily always a good thing.
Sometimes it isn't, if you're not ready for that level of energy input or data input from the environment around you. Sometimes it can overwhelm you. Like if somebody does some tampering or something like that, they could unlock something at the moment you're not ready for. I've encountered that before. I've had to adapt to something just like that before, where my guides let me keep certain things on, and in the condition where I would just adapt to it. I've run into that myself. Yeah, and also with the Kundalini awakening, what I feel this person did was clear your energy core out the same way I do that for other people. When I do bilocation, I remote view or you could call it astral projection. It has different names, where you can enter the environment of the person and clear out their immediate space. And that's what this person, I feel, did. They cleared out your internal space. Usually where these entities like to sit are at the base of the spine. And that's the beginning of the Kundalini right there. You pull those away from the base of the spine, you allow the normal flow of energy to take place again. It was actually blocking you, and when that was removed, the normal flow or current could take place again.
Well, that's fascinating, and the language that you use and that this lady uses is almost identical. The themes and everything, talking about the energy, and then also you have a lot more, I think, experience than she does, but she has removed some psychic implants or etheric implants and stuff like this. Mm-hmm. And this is something I've been hearing a lot about recently, but especially you seem to be someone who's really has a lot of expertise or experience with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, being an alien abductee myself, I'm familiar with the technology some of these different races use. And the Greys like to use a mix between etheric and physical. implants, or both. They can merge both of them together. I've seen the majority of the time they're on people's spines or in the backs of people's heads and such. But I've seen them under people's heart muscles. I've seen them in the bottoms of the feet, hands. Some of these technologies can grow from a single particle of dust. I came to find out people can inhale it and then they enter in and do things in the body as well.
Through the nanoparticulates that come through chemtrails or something?
Yes, exactly. And that happens a lot that way, yes.
Hold on a second.
Mm-hmm.
And I can edit that up. Is that the battery? Oh, no, that thing's just recording. All right, thanks, buddy. Yeah, this is kind of for a lot of people, and it's a kind of a new idea because for decades we've been hearing about implants, and doctors taking out implants, and these alphabet agencies, had some Manchurian candidate, and they put some implants in them, and so it's a relatively new idea, at least to me, that there can be these etheric implants.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I run into these more often than the physical ones. They're like almost like a negative set of geometry that is used to block certain energy centers within people. And these aliens can do it from a distance. They don't have to be in the room for those. They can do the same as if I was healing you. They can do it from somewhere else completely. And these guys have enormous brain power, I've noticed. It's not something you want to take them on with, like in an arm wrestle. I've done this many times with the Greys in particular. They're very difficult to take on in a mental arm wrestle. But an energy they cannot grasp is the heart space. They don't know what this is. And if you use that ability, you've knocked them off the game board completely. And their implants will also purge using that as well. And these etheric implants, I find them strange places in people's bodies. I'll see them mimicking.
Yeah, I'm here, Christopher. I just had to reset a camera.
Mimicking people's energy centers within their body. Like I've even seen chakras being mimicked, and I'll peel those mimicking energies off of it. And another form of entity is a mimicker itself, a mimicker demon that likes to graft onto people and mimic their auric field and mimic their conditions such as heart attack and stroke. I've noticed that these different entities will cause different health conditions or mimic different health conditions so they can keep vacuuming energy off and sucking energy off of people. Another implant type I've run into, this was about a year ago I ran into this. Joanna and I came out of the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C., and noticed that her foot was just killing her. It was just excruciating. And on an etheric level, I found an implant that was physical, but it was out of our time sync. It was out of our time sync completely. It was what I called a foot spike. It was like a spike or a nail like that had been driven up through the foot. And I found out by entering the National Cathedral, we had agreed to a contract with the AI and the gray entities and the draconian entities. When we revoked that, all I had to do was pull, on an etheric level, pull these spikes out, and they were gone. I find these in people that have entered over what are called energy collectors. Monuments, churches, and temples have these. A lot of them, or big cathedrals that are very geometric in nature. Those are definitely energy collectors. And I didn't know anything about energy collectors until I stepped over one and had to experience what it was like to be afflicted by it. And then my guide said, yes, we set this up so that you would know how to tell people how to get rid of this by experiencing what it was to be afflicted by it.
So by maybe subconsciously or unconsciously on some level entering into this contract, it was really kind of for the good so that you could learn about this.
And how to unbind from it. Yeah, you have to revoke it on all levels, like dimensional and etheric levels, in order to get rid of it. Because, see, by entering the door of the cathedral, I was agreeing to the contract on a geometric level. Like the whole building itself was like a giant implant. Mm-hmm. And so, therefore, when I stepped out and then revoked it, all the health conditions that were forming from it disappeared.
Huh, that's fascinating. In nature, the human being, even if they haven't been told, or for sure any animals, if you see a rattlesnake and it starts rattling its rattler to you, and you get any more close to it, it's your fault if you get bit. You know,
Yeah.
but it seems like it's almost the same things with these megalithic monuments and stuff, except that our ability to see the rattler has been removed from us.
Exactly. You couldn't put it any better. And also, mimickers are the same way too. Mimicker demons are the same way. They have a rattle all their own. If in the middle of the night you hear, this is attributed to ghost activity for the most part. If you hear, like, say, somebody, like a relative or a friend talking in a hallway in the middle of the night or something like that, or you have a dream of a cell phone going off, or somebody laughing, or say, this is what happened to me and Joanna. We were at a friend's house, and I had a partial dream. I was kind of in and out of it, where I thought my cell phone had gone off. And then, at the same time, I saw Joanna next to me laughing. And I looked over, I said, why did you start laughing? She goes, I didn't. What was happening was the cell phone going off in the dream state was the rattle. And the demon was laughing because it was right next to me the whole time. It was physically there. It was just that it couldn't maintain the form that it was mimicking. So it would jump and mimic these different aspects, like a cell phone going off, or a person laughing. Now the same is with these megaliths, or these temples, or these cathedrals. That's the rattle. People aren't seeing this. Mm-hmm. And Joanna and I have been trying to inform people that these things are going on. Take notice. You will feel this if you're sensitive to the energy. You know, the majority of these things I've noticed are obelisks that are keeping the energy in like a third density vibration on battlefields, historic sites. We went to Jamestown, saw Jamestown, Williamsburg, saw one of these spikes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you could feel it from there. Boston, we went to the Franklin grave site, and that's the first time I ever felt this. I touched this, and my energy level just dropped through the floor. Wow. And I was out of it for a little while. We went to Gettysburg, attempted to clear that battlefield, and we found a megalith there that was an energy collector / energy dampener or soul trap that was keeping ghosts in place to keep these entities feeding off of the ghost energies. And it was pretty ugly, but the energy was pretty ugly. We managed to fix a few things, but we've noticed that the galactics have been telling us, or the guides have been telling us, that when we go through these heavy areas, they declare the area neutral. And what they mean by that is, then per their galactic laws, they can step in, and if there's any hostile entities there, they can send them to a corner while they sort everything out. Some of these negative entities like to call it the old neutrality trick. And my guide Simeon said, go through an area, declare it neutral, then we can step in and start to correct things. Mm.
That's fascinating. So by you declaring with a soul declaration or something like this, that you're going to have it be neutral, you are then able to be aided by the guides?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because then if a human down here on the Earth, grounded here on the Earth, declares an area neutral using their galactic rulebook, then the rest of the galactic council out there goes, oh, okay, somebody did this. We have a loophole now to go in and fix this. And that's a little trick that they taught me when we went to Salem, Massachusetts, last Halloween. Not this previous one, the previous one before that. We went to Salem. And what was really strange about there was I noticed my psychic ability started to get more and more dampened the closer we got. And we went into a restaurant in downtown Salem, sat down, and all of a sudden my psychic abilities cleared, and I noticed on a different density wavelength there were ETs everywhere. They were all over the place. And one of them that was there that just identified himself as Max came up to me and said, this is an actual neutral zone where all beings are allowed to coexist. If one screws up, they get their butt whooped. But no demons are allowed to feed off people. It's a genuine neutral zone. And their hope is that the entire planet becomes that, because then it's under the galactic purview. But they said there are these neutral zones scattered across the face of the planet. And Salem happened to be one of the first ones that was established. And after all the really grotesque history that had happened there, they figured that was a good starting place to have a neutral zone. And it was you could tell there were bad entities there and good entities there, but nobody bothered you. Nothing bothered you. And if anything did, there were guards around there that whooped its butt, basically. If there was a demon there that screwed up, But on the flip side, I wasn't allowed to do anything either. I wasn't allowed to do clearings. I wasn't allowed to disrupt the energy field or auric field of anybody else.
Okay, so you couldn't help anybody at that restaurant, so to speak.
No, because they didn't need help because they were within this neutral zone that was enforced by all these other galactic beings that were there, all these guards. Now, there are safe zones, too, that demons and such are not allowed in. Like Prescott is considered this because of the high quartz count that's here. It's incredibly high in quartz, copper, all this. It's basically like a giant piece of organite here. And demons burn up if they try to come into this zone. And I've noticed
like copper? They do not like copper?
Well, if you combine these elements in a certain alchemy, they can't come near it. They're allergic to it, heavily allergic to it, and it's a too high of a density here for them. Humans can handle it. Demonic and low density entities cannot handle it here.
You know, that's fascinating, and I've got these. I don't know if you can see them, but these copper bracelets I got in Mexico last year. Mm-hmm. And I'm probably going to be selling these, to monetize my YouTube channel. But you hit me with some information just in rapid fire succession, just really, sent off some, I don't know whether they call it triggers or what, but let me just get straight down to it. One of the things that I do is I go visit these megalithic ruins. Mm-hmm. And so last year I was in Peru and Paracas, investigating the long skulls, the elongated skulls.
Yes.
There's a lot of noise about those right now, and I want to get your perspectives on that. And then I was also in Mexico meeting with one of the most powerful men in Mexico, the sorcerer Enrique Berdón, in Jalapa, Mexico. And there I participated in a blood sacrifice ritual in an underground sacred cave in front of a 10-foot tall statue of Lucifer with a 16-year-old totally nude clairvoyant girl writhing in ecstasy at the bait. I didn't know that they participated in a blood sacrifice ritual. In an underground sacred cave in front of a 10-foot tall statue of Lucifer with a 16-year-old totally nude clairvoyant girl writhing in ecstasy at the bait. I didn't know that they participated in a blood sacrifice ritual. In an underground sacred cave in front of a 10-foot tall statue of Lucifer with a 16-year-old totally nude clairvoyant girl writhing in ecstasy at the bait. I didn't know that they participated in a blood sacrifice ritual. In an underground sacred cave in front of a 10-foot tall statue of Lucifer with a 16-year-old totally nude clairvoyant girl writhing in ecstasy at the bait. I didn't know that they participated in a blood sacrifice ritual. 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 In an underground sacred cave in front of a 10-foot tall statue of Lucifer with a 16-year-old totally nude clairvoyant girl writhing in ecstasy at the bait. I didn't know that was going to be there, and not that I have a problem with it. Everything was above board. These are rituals and stuff that are thousands of years old, even though they've become Christianized, so to speak, to the Catholic Church. Mm-hmm. And no human beings were hurt at this, blood sacrifice ritual. I personally sacrificed a large-sized goat in this underground chamber, but this is a goat that was specifically bred for this purpose. And these sacrificial animals they live a special existence. They're treated nicer than other farm animals, and so got a lot of perspective on that. Now, one interesting thing, I was telling you about my energy moving lady, and there's another friend that we have that, and it's based on what I told you, and you seem to kind of almost, I know you don't know her, but just by y'all's language, you were almost kind of confirming some of the things she said. And you talk about synchronicity or coincidence. She is telling me that we have, and this other person, this third person, have correspondences or what in past lifetimes. Because get this, and I'm not saying I believe this or don't believe this, but it is a narrative, and it was bizarre that she brought this up. That these two people, her and this other person, falsely accused me of being a witch back in the days of the Salem witch trials. Okay. And that I was hung, I was executed for this. And so I was thinking, well, witches, a lot of times there was a misogynistic, things against women, and all this stuff, and you hear a lot of these. And so I was like, okay, so was I a man witch or something? And she's like, no. In other words, part of that narrative is that I was a woman in this lifetime, so very, and I'm kind of a man's man type guy, try to look at myself that way anyway. So, a lot of times these people talking about past life experience, they were always like Caesar or, all these, important characters. But Rudolf Steiner says that a lot of times with these past life experiences, you kind of alternate, become being a man and a woman and stuff like that. And is that true, or has that been your experience?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I've seen both past lives and dimensional selves. Dimensional selves is a whole other animal altogether, but it's sometimes mistaken for past lives. But yeah, I've noticed people tend to alternate. They want to feel what it's like to be in that expression or this expression, or they may even choose, dimensionally to express themselves as a different alien race, or a planetoid, or a celestial body, or something like that. I've heard of that taking place too in different expressions, and different expressions can coexist at the same time too. You're one big, energy blob, pretty much. But yeah, in past lives, I've noticed in a linear perspective, I've noticed sometimes it can go man, woman, man, woman, man, woman. I've noticed that with myself. I've had several female lifetimes, and I've had several male lifetimes. And
So
with dimension,
it's not unheard of.
yeah, it's not unheard of at all. Yeah.
Okay, fascinating. And have you heard of Rudolf Steiner before?
I've heard the name, but I don't know the work.